We are live. So, welcome. Usually I have an intro, so it was a bit weird that it started for me. But welcome, guys, to the How to Heart show. And today is a really cool episode because I'm here with a hypnotist and I'm here with Tommy G. And we've met on LinkedIn. And I don't know who approached first, but I think it was Tommy or me. But we started to have this conversation, and what I got so attracted to Tommy was he hypnotized people, and I've seen it sometimes on videos and stuff like that. But I never did one, and Tommy offered me to have a short session to see how it is, and we can talk about his journey as well. He has some really interesting thing that to talk about, and also his new book that he's going to share with us is really cool, especially the story with it. So I'm really excited for us to have this conversation. So, Tommy, thank you so much for being here on the show.
I'm so happy to be here. I appreciate you. Yeah, we had a great conversation
Same here.
just a couple weeks ago, I think it was, and it was like you kind of hit it off. You don't always hit it off with everybody you talk to, and it was just kind of a cool vibe. So, no, I'm really glad to be here with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Same for me. Again, what I got attracted to you is your vibe and how calm you are, and the voice. Also, you have a really nice, calm voice, and I told you I can listen to you for hours, just the way you talk and your journey and stuff like that. So I'm super excited, and thank you so much for being here. And let's go into your journey. So, Tommy, what can you share in us in a nutshell in what you are and what you do, who you are and what you
Yeah.
do?
So I am. I go by the Hockey Town Hypnotist. That's my little name that I go on stage and everything. And I work with a whole myriad of different clients. And so I do a lot of stage shows. I've been doing stage shows for over 20 years now, and I've gotten really into though the clinical side of things. I'm a hypnotist, obviously, but I do a lot of work with people just subconsciously, and I do the entertainment stuff, like I said, on stage. Get people to, in the audience to laugh, get people to forget their name, you get them to dance in a funny way, or, their belly button fell off or something like that. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff where they do goofy stuff and it's just entertaining and really fun to watch. I used to do a whole lot of street hypnosis. You see those guys on the beach, sometimes videos of, usually it's some guy hypnotizing a very attractive girl or something like that, and whatever. And she's standing up hypnotized and can't say a certain word or something, or can't move. And I used to do that stuff. My insurance doesn't let me do that stuff anymore.
I
But
wonder
uh,
why.
yeah, well, but no, I used to do all that stuff. That was what got me into it, was really the funny stuff. I was 17, so I was in high school and I was getting to hypnotize my friends in class. And I wasn't allowed to, but I did it because teenagers, right? And so I was always doing that. I was practicing constantly, and it wasn't until really I would do hypnotherapy for people. I'll call it clinical hypnosis because I'm not a licensed therapist. I'm not a psychologist. And some people are very touchy about that term therapy, but I'm a clinical hypnotist, and I've done clinical sessions all this time too, where I'm helping people quit drinking and quit smoking and all those sorts of things that people go to hypnotists for. But I really didn't feel like I was the right person for it for a lot of them. So it was like, if they wouldn't work with me, or if they wouldn't work with somebody else, then I would work with them. And it was just because I didn't have special training for that. It was very different, I thought. And it wasn't until the last few years that I've really said, you know what? No, I should be doing this. And the results that I'm getting are incredible. And so now I'm full-time. I'm going on 2 years full-time as a hypnotist. And it's just been absolutely awesome watching people who have been struggling with any issues that they're coming to me with, especially pain. People who are struggling with pain or whatever they're held down by, and working with them and seeing their face change from one that you could tell that they're feeling something they don't want to feel, and then they feel free afterward. And it's just really fun to watch that. It's like the light goes on behind their eyes, and it's really just a really beautiful experience. And so I've just kind of fallen head over heels in love with doing clinical sessions now, and I still do the other ones, but man, the change work that we can do with the subconscious mind is just incredible. And I think it's underutilized. So that's me though. I now train other hypnotists. I write books, as you see behind me. I got a couple books. That's the one you were talking about right there. And you know, I'm always looking for new ways to help people, to make this more accessible, to make it so that I can not so that I can be the one making all the changes, but so that people get the help that they need, essentially, at a price they can afford. And I'm not always the cheapest guy, but I'm always looking for ways to make it so that people are hooked up in the right way, if that makes sense.
Thank you so much for sharing, Tommy. And the question that came up to me, and maybe you said it, but how did you get involved with the hypnotherapy?
Yeah, well, with hypnosis in general, I didn't
Or
believe in it.
hypnosis.
I thought it was made up. I thought it was people faking it. And I had seen the shows. I had laughed at, you know, yeah, it's always the theater kids in the high school who were picked for the shows. And so it was, oh yeah, of course it's fake. And then I was proven wrong by Michael Brody. He's known as America's fastest hypnotist. He's an amazing hypnotist, amazing guy. But he taught me, he proved me wrong by hypnotizing me. And I immediately came out of it going, okay, I need to learn this. This is cool. And so he and I worked it out where I was going to learn from him. I studied under him for a while, and he kind of pulled me along with him when he would do shows and stuff. And then I really got into hypnotherapy when I worked under Tom Silver, who was a world famous hypnotist and hypnotherapist. And he really strongly encouraged me to be doing hypnotherapy because he said stage hypnotists make the best hypnotherapists. I said, oh, well, that's an interesting perspective. And we have a specific set of skills is what it comes down to. And we are really adaptable. And he said that makes for an excellent hypnotherapist. And so I started doing it that way. He and I had very similar styles. And so that led me down this path that I'm on now, where I'm just looking at ways of simplifying it all and making it easier and more impactful all at the same time. And so, yeah, let's see, it was 2005 when I started learning. Between then and now, I've just soaked up as much as I could. And yeah, it's an interesting phenomenon to experience. I'm excited for you to experience it.
Yeah, for me, it's the same. I've been also really skeptical because when I see those videos, there's like people saying, well, they hired an actor and stuff like that. Or guys, they just smack her on the head and they fall asleep like really fast. It's like, is this real or not? So sometimes, do you agree? Sometimes it's really hard if people are really being hypnotized or not.
There's specific ways of knowing if someone's hypnotized, and that's something that you learn both by doing it and experiencing it, and then also just by the specific training that you go through. And you could tell there's a few indicators, because some people, they'll go up there and they'll fake, right? But we can tell as hypnotists when they're faking because we can see your eyes look different. We can see that when we say that, magic word that all hypnotists use, and they say sleep, right? When we say that word, we can watch their reaction. We can see how quickly do they go into that state, how loose, if you see them ever, moving their shoulders, like grabbing onto their shoulders and kind of moving, we're looking to see how is the head rocking, how is that neck relaxed, how are the shoulders relaxed, how comfortable is this person seem to be. So there's specific indicators there. And I always, in my shows, I tell people, please don't come up and fake it. I don't want you to fake it. I want people who are really going to be in this to be on my stage with me. But Does that answer your question? I couldn't
Yeah,
remember
for
what you
me, there
asked
was.
me.
Sorry?
I couldn't remember what you asked me. I started going on a tangent.
I asked you if the like some people if they're like charlatans, so they have
Oh,
people they hire, they have actors or other people they're really
hmm.
hypnotizing people.
Yeah, I've never seen somebody hire somebody to be a volunteer in a show.
Mm.
Um, I have heard people accused of things like that, but um, I was even accused of that at one of my last shows. Somebody thought that I had brought somebody and planted somebody that nobody there knew, and I'm like, I don't know who this person is, um, but you know, there are people who will allow people who are faking to stay up on stage. Um, it's one of those, if they're taking away from the show, if they're distracting from the show, then we would definitely send them back. But I've been told by some people that if they're still going along with what you're saying, then who cares? It's kind of a toss up on that one. I prefer people who are for sure hypnotized, but I've never heard of anybody paying anyone or having plants that
Mhm.
they have in the audience, as that sort of a thing. Um, we generally don't like fakers because it takes away from the science of what it is. It takes away from the legitimacy of it. And we're not just in it for a good show, we're in it to showcase how powerful the mind is. And you're not going to get that if someone's faking it.
That's true. And sometimes it's funny when they let people like be a chicken or they do a handstand or they do really funny stuff. So it's you can really see how powerful the mind is, but also how easily it can be fooled, right?
Mm-hmm. 100%. Well, and it's not even just being fooled. So hypnosis specifically is the active engagement with your imagination in a very concentrated, focused way that amplifies that version of reality. And so we're engaging with your imagination for a purpose. Now, we can probably all remember when we were little kids and we would be engaged in imaginative play, right? And we're playing where I don't know. I loved Star Wars when I was a kid, right? And
Same
so
here.
yeah, and so I was Luke Skywalker. I had my toy lightsaber and I was in the backyard and I'm swinging it around and I'm fighting Darth Vader, right? I'm doing whatever, right? And in my mind, it's not that I can actually physically see him, but I'm acting as if I'm feeling like I'm there. It's like method acting, right? You're putting yourself in that situation. You are allowing yourself to experience the the fear. You're allowing yourself to experience the invigoration, the excitement, and so you're engaging in that part of the imagination like you haven't engaged with it in probably decades. And it allows you to experience things differently. And it also is a more suggestible um, state of mind. So if I say you won't be able to say the number six, then every time you go to say the number six, you're going to question yourself. How do I say that? It's just going to feel weird because you allow yourself imagining what it would be like not to say something, and then you can't say it. Kind of like if it was a foreign language. And so it interacts with the brain that way. It's a really interesting um, experience. Yeah, when I tell people that they're not going to be able to open their eyes, and then some of them they can open their eyes, right? And I usually send those ones back. But sometimes I'll even say, and you can just let yourself experience what it would be like for you to not open your eyes and to feel that stuckness. And you can feel it. It's kind of, if I let me put it this way. We've all experienced like a mosquito, right? A mosquito landing somewhere on us, right? We know what that feels like. We've all had that happen before. And if you think about what that feels like now, even without hearing the sound, but think about what that feels like, where it may land, where you realize it's landed before, or things like that, and you start to really Imagine what that sounds like, what it feels like. You notice it's like it's subtle, but it's there. It's almost like a hair touching you somewhere, and the more you think about it, the more you can actually start to feel that somewhere on your person, whether it's your face or your
Mm.
neck or hands or whatever, and you could start to feel that thing. And when I explain this to an audience, inevitably I see people doing like this, moving that mosquito off their face or off their hand or whatever it is. They're doing something because they feel something and they've got to interact with it. And that's what hypnosis brings about. It brings about that sort of a feeling. It's imaginary, but that imagination makes it real.
That's interesting. What really came up to me when you said that was also with the lemon. So you can pretend if you have like a lemon and you pretend that you suck in it, you feel like, oh, so
Mm-hmm.
sour. So you can also like hypnotize yourself in a way to experience it as well. It was really funny.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's sort of how I can get people drunk. I do this on stage sometimes, and for parties especially. Um, if if there's no alcoholics there, if someone's not a recovering alcoholic, I do this, but I will get people drunk. I'll have them remember a feeling of being drunk. I walk them through it. I bring it about. I help them to feel it over and over and over again. And then I take it away, and then it's gone, and they feel totally sober and normal. Um,
Wow.
and it's really fun to watch that. Watch them walk a straight line, and they can't walk a straight line because they're drunk. But then you take it away, and they can walk a straight line because they're not really drunk.
You must have had a lot of fun with that.
I've had a lot of fun with that. Yeah, that's a real hit
Yeah.
at parties. I used to get hired for like university parties and for like fraternities, and I would just tell them, before you open up your liquor, let me do my show. let me teach you how to get drunk without that stuff, so you don't go have to get your stomach
Wow.
pumped or something.
Well, I need to go to one of those parties. It sounds
Yeah.
really fun to experience that. That's awesome. So, Tommy, the question also that came up, it can also be used as a dark way to manipulate, right? Also, maybe to do people that you or let people do that they don't want to do, or is it really safe? Is there also boundaries, or is it really like no boundaries at all?
So the hard thing with hypnosis is it's a naturally occurring state of mind. So whenever you're zoning out, whenever you're really focused on something and everything else is blocked out and you're just really focused there, um, whenever you are playing a video game, watching a movie, reading a book, like you're letting your imagination kind of go into that world of what's happening. You're really experiencing a version of hypnosis in those moments. When you're engaging in something like social media and you're scrolling and like the doom scrolling effect, that's a form of hypnosis. And so you
Mm.
can be manipulated. We like to think we are logical creatures. We like to think that we think through things logically. But the moment your emotions are engaged, you are being manipulated. It doesn't mean that it's intentional, it doesn't mean that it's malicious, but if you feel, and I'm just going to put this out there, the major corporations, the news media, everything on the planet, political, everything on all sides of every spectrum, they know this. The higher ups at all of these things, they've been trained in this. If they can get the emotions engaged in any way, then that populace can be manipulated into believing or feeling or whatever they want. And it's why you can see some people engaging in behaviors that you would look at it and go, how can this rational person that I know respond this way to something? Well, it's because they are being manipulated. And that's a version of, we'll call it hypnosis. It's in that category, right? Now, can someone be hypnotized to do something against their will? We can't get someone to be hypnotized to do something that is morally in opposition to what they believe. So, for
Mhm.
example, um, I am a Christian myself. If I was hypnotized and someone said, "You will denounce Christ," it's not going to happen. Now, if I'm against murder, I can be hypnotized to maybe prevent a murder by attacking the person who was going to cause harm or something like that. Like, so my mentor, Tom Silver, did a documentary with, it was on the Discovery Channel at one point. And he basically worked with, he was a warden or something at a prison. He worked in the corrections facility, and they wanted to make him into an assassin. They were going to have him become an assassin. And they worked with this guy. He was very, very open to hypnosis and very malleable in that way. And the way Tom got him to successfully do it, because he was successful in creating an assassin, was by telling him that this person here was a criminal and needed to be taken out, needed to be killed. And so he was able to get him to do that because it didn't violate his moral code, because he was protecting against a criminal. And so it becomes a little bit of a gray area there. Now, hypnosis, just like anything else, is an amoral tool. There isn't any morality to it. It's about the user. It's about the person who's doing the hypnosis. Just like a hammer is an amoral tool. If someone has a hammer, they can do damage with it, or they can build something with it. They can fix something. It's about who's got it in their hand and how are they planning on using it in what way. Hypnosis is the same way. So can you be hypnotized to do things you don't want to? Yeah, to some degree. It depends on the way they word it, depends on how they frame it in your mind, depends on the level of hypnosis they're getting you into, and how many times they're going to hypnotize you. If it's brainwashing, like a Manchurian Candidate kind of situation, like we've seen in the sleeper cells and things like that, then you're going to need to work with somebody for a very prolonged period of time, and it's going to involve a lot more than hypnosis. Hypnosis in itself, though, as the naturally occurring state of mind, that in itself is not harmful in any way. It's just like we can be told lies by people we trust, and we can be made to believe things by people we trust. And then it turns out that those things were a lie. Well, if we acted on that lie, then harmful things can still happen. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's still a lot to process, but I understand. It's really, if you say like just kill this person, it's like, huh, wait, what? I don't want to do that. So you're trying to force
Yeah.
somebody to do something that you don't want to do. So I don't think you can really do that. There's also it will be foolish, but I think sometimes, like, if you do it over and over again, if you tell this person over and over again to do it, maybe they will crack, or the mind will say, okay, they will give in, or it doesn't work like that. I think there's also maybe a safe in the mind if it's going too much, but it's hard because some people, they do things that they don't want to do, but if they convince themselves to do it, they will do it. So the mind is tricky, I guess.
It depends on our own morals, and I've had people in shows, for example, I've had them where I'll say, you're going to dance to this specific song every time you hear it. And they stayed hypnotized, but they wouldn't dance. And afterward, they would come up and tell me, I really didn't want to dance. Okay, cool. I'm glad you had that self-control. Some people have that kind of will to just not do this, but they can still stay in that hypnotic state. I've had people not forget their name when I've told them to forget how to say their name, because that name is a family name and it's very important to them, and that sort of a thing, So there's a lot of little pieces that go along with it. And do I think it's inherently harmful? I think the number of hypnotists who are abusing it are so few. There's so few. I think there are a lot of hypnotists who aren't making hypnosis look good, but they're not necessarily being harmful with it. Just like anything else, though, you can manipulate people without hypnosis. and so it's just that we are malleable creatures, and we're social creatures. So there's
Mhm.
always going to be a way to get somebody to do something that you want them to do if you are really determined to do it.
Got it. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing, Tommy. The question that came up to me is also, where did hypnosis come from? Can you explain that?
Ooh, well, it's been around. It's a natural state of mind, like I said. So it's built into human nature. That kind of zoning out, focusing in, zeroing in, if you want to call it that, for hunter gatherer. We were hunting. We were looking at whatever we're hunting. But it all really started with Mesmer back in the 1700s. That's when we started really studying it, and he had this term of animal magnetism, and it basically relied on, he thought there were like magnetic energies that made us more susceptible and more open to changes, and so he would it was like about polarities and things like that. And over the years it kind of morphed and shifted with like James Braid, and he was a doctor, and then all the way up into like Ellman and Dr. Erickson and all these people over the years. It's really shifted in terms of our understanding of it, but it's been around forever. And so, but as it's been studied, it's only really been studied for what, 200 years, something like that, a little over 200 years. And that all really started with Franz Mesmer.
Okay. Yeah, I was curious. I was curious about, especially if you've been doing it so long, and it's also good way to test people about the knowledge and skill and the way I hear you talk. It's really a passion of yours, right? It's really, you can
Mm-hmm.
talk about it and do it every single day.
Oh, I could do that. I do this all day, every day.
Yeah,
Talk about
that's
hypnosis
true.
and teach people hypnosis and all that.
It's, Tommy, it's really interesting also with the mind, and it's the programming. It's like a computer, right? I hear sometimes when I talk to people and about hypnosis and how you can change the unconscious mind. It's really a computer, right? It's really how we store the information, and we can also
Mm-hmm.
delete it and put new things in. It's really interesting. It sounds so good to be true. It's so easy, especially with people, they've been stuck and traumatized and been looking for answers and solutions, and they come to you and say, wow, your hypnosis, it helped me, it changed my life forever. It's really fascinating.
Yeah. And the brain is like a computer. The mind is the software of the brain's computer. And we don't always think of it that way, but I tell people, when they're dealing with some kind of an addiction, or they're dealing with some kind of affliction, something's going on within them, and they want to change that, it's really just faulty programming. Maybe it's a mind virus, right? We don't want to get viruses on our computers, and so we can identify, locate those viruses, what we want removed, and then once we remove those viruses, we just got to install the right firewall and protect against it, and antivirus and that kind of thing. And you can train the brain the same way you can train AI, same way you can train a computer to, you first boot up a computer and it's loading all of your programs. It's kind of like it's figuring out which programs do you use the most, which ones are you most likely to open up first, and it'll open those programs faster as you teach it more, right? It's going to have it's going to kind of learn your behaviors. That's where machine learning is. And so the brain is a computer. It's just not a computer in the sense that it's manufactured with all the little hardware and like the circuits and all that kind of stuff, right? But it's constantly firing, synapses and all your neurons happening and like lighting up different. If you connect it to an EEG, you can see it lighting up different parts of the brain, lighting up at different times and being engaged, and it's just fascinating to watch that happen.
Yeah, I think for the science to really see it, if you hook yourself on a computer and you do hypnotize, you see what happens in the brain and the nervous system. It's really powerful. It's also really fascinating for me to also back it up, not just by you doing it, but also see it through a computer, like, hey, this is happening with your body and the mind and stuff like that. And plus the results when people tell you, hey, Tommy, it really changed everything. So that's really, really cool to go more deeper into this. So I have a question for you, Tommy. What set what sets hypnosis apart from typical therapy approaches?
A lot of typical therapy approaches require you to talk out loud, especially like let's just say, you know, general psychologists who are gonna do talk therapy with you. You're gonna share your experience. You're gonna share your feelings. You're gonna talk through it all. You're going to revisit past events. You know, talk about those events, how it made you feel. You get some exercises that are given to you maybe, and some things that you should work on, and things that you can take away from it, and it just kind of goes on for many times years and years. I know someone who's been in with the same therapist for 10 years, and usually what I find is there isn't really an end in sight. You know, there's not really an end goal for a lot of these sessions. And some people don't want an end goal, right? Some people want to just keep coming back. They want someone to talk to, and all of that. But general therapy, there's a lot of different therapies, right? There's so many out there. There's music therapy, and there's cognitive behavioral therapy, and there's talk therapy, and there's all kinds of different pieces to this, right? EDMR. Hypnosis acts to bypass the conscious mind. So if we think about it like the conscious mind of the computer, right? We're thinking of the computer. The conscious mind is what we see on the screen. That's how we interact with it, right? We're looking at the, you know, on my phone, we're looking at like, okay, touching here, and if I do this, then it interacts this way and whatever. And so that's all the conscious. That's like the RAM of the computer, the memory. Everything below that is the subconscious mind. So all of the programming, all of the code, the lines of code, all of the ones and zeros that are going on, the ons and offs of the circuit board, everything else is below that, is subconscious. And for every movement of my mouse across the screen, or the cursor across the screen rather, there are thousands of things happening underneath, right? That we don't ever see. We don't see those lines of code. We don't see that background programming happening when we are moving our mouse and we see the cursor moving. But that's what's happening. Every little interaction that's going on there, there's something else underneath that's making that possible. And the subconscious kind of guides the way we interact with the world. Well, if we can work directly with the subconscious mind, it's like we're working directly with the lines of code in a computer. If we understand those lines of code, we can work to reprogram those lines of code, install new software, new background programs, things to, you know, updates and things like that to help it run more efficiently. Now, we aren't necessarily installing in a true sense of like, I'm going to plug a flash drive into your ear and then now we're going to download by, you know, what that's not going to work. But what we do is we reframe your experience. So for example, if I'm working with you and you have a specific experience you want to change in your life, you want to change how you interact in a certain way, then what I'm going to help you do is reframe the way you see that experience. I'm going to give you different perspectives. I'm going to ask you questions. I'm going to ask you about the way that you feel and to interact with those feelings differently. And then we're going to sometimes visualize what outcome do you want. And we'll visualize in very specific ways. You know, there's a specific method that hypnotists use. They call it the VACOG method: visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, and gustatory. So all five senses being engaged will have you envision you're in this space, you're successful. What are you wearing? How do the clothes feel on your body? How does your mouth taste in this moment? Are you chewing gum? Are you drinking coffee? What do you smell? What do you see around you? What are, you know what I mean? Like we're engaging all of the senses. and then we're going to grab onto the emotions. And those emotions act as like a sealant. They're going to lock that in because the emotions are where we're controlled, not logic. And so we end up going that route. And what's fun, the way I do this, and the way I know of a few people who do this, is when you get really abstract with it, and I know I don't have to make people re-engage with past traumas. I don't have to make people relive old experiences or even see themselves necessarily perfectly in the future they want. But we think through it in a different way that engages at a different level, is the best way I can explain it for layman's terms. Kind of like if you think of an emotion like love, what color comes to mind to you for that emotion?
Red.
Red.
Pink or red.
And so like if and we're not going to do this right now, but if you were to close your eyes and tell me what color you were thinking of right now that you're feeling within yourself, maybe you would say green, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I would say, well, if you want to feel love, how do we make that love red? How do we make that green into something red? So we engage with it in a different way. It's like the sub-programming. We associate things. It's all about association, right? If you think of Pavlov and the conditioned responses of those dogs salivating when they hear a bell ring, we're the same way with different things. We just need to recondition those responses.
Interesting. That's really interesting. And also that you said with the therapists and psychologists that people are like doing it for like 10 or 15 years and the results are so small. And I can talk about it because I have now working with my psychologist because I struggle to connect with women. We're also gonna go deeper with this with a session what we're gonna do later. But I worked so hard, and what I've discovered, I also did EMDR with him, and every time I did it, I relived it. I always felt it, and I said to him, when he did it, I felt like my nervous system was constantly responding. There was no women in the room, but I still felt the fear, the anxiety. I felt like I wanted to run away, and there was no women there. And I was like, wow, this is so powerful because it helped me, but it took a long time. I need to have a lot of sessions for me to feel better, to feel safe. Yet I need to still work on myself to overcome my fears and stuff like that. But it was such a slow and hard process. And it's like, can we not speed this up?
And this is where I get really frustrated with the standard psychology and standard therapy approaches that are, we'll just call them the approved processes, because hypnosis has been proven time and time and time again. It's medically, it's in the medical journals, it's in all of that. They've done studies where people have undergone surgery while only using hypnosis as an anesthetic. They've done those things. They've shown how powerful it is, and it's still ignored largely.
Mhm.
And I have my suspicions as to why, but that's not this conversation necessarily. But with things like EMDR and all of those, they cause you to it's like making the trauma feelings more vivid, right? Is everything that I hear about this. I've worked with people who they've been seeing psychologists for, like I said, years and years, and they do one session with me, one full hour session, and they suddenly aren't having triggered experiences. They aren't having moments where they're afraid to react in a healthy way, or where they feel the need to spiral. They don't go to the dark places. They don't have these negative self-thoughts and things like that, and they're able to more confidently engage with the world around them. And then a therapist will say, yeah, but we haven't dealt with your trauma yet. And so then they will say, well, let's go through the EMDR or EDMR, whatever. And then that person will go through it, and it sends them spiraling. It sends them deep into that space of like, oh no, I'm in fight or flight mode now. I'm in panic mode. I'm feeling these feelings that I don't want to feel. And then it begs the question to me of, And this is one of the things that I really I get into it with people is, well, what is the point of therapy? Well, most people would say the point of therapy is to work through and work past certain instances in your life so that you can function as you're supposed to function within society, or at least feel good about functioning as you function. So to have that self-actualization and to feel good about all of that, right? I mean, would you agree that that's kind of what therapy is supposed to do, in your opinion?
Yeah, for sure, and especially with EMDR, because when I went through it, I felt okay. I'm gonna have a few sessions, and then I'm gonna be feeling better. But it still took a long time, and still the triggers are not gone.
Yeah,
Still the triggers are there, and plus I'm always then need to dig like what's going on. Is it the trauma? Is it the past trauma? Is it past life trauma? And I don't get it. Like, why is it so hard
yeah,
for me to get it done faster? I know usually with the psychologists and therapy it takes time, but I've been doing this now for 2 years, and still I struggle to walk up to women and ask them out. And for me it's like I don't get it when I'm doing all these EMDR sessions, these talks, and still I don't get the results that I want. So yeah, I
well,
agree
so
with
and
you.
yeah, and that's kind of my point is, there should be that end goal of accomplishing your goal. And your goal is going to be unique to you, but for most people it's going to be I just want to feel what they see as normal, right? I just want to feel
Hmm.
normal. I want to feel comfortable
Yeah.
and confident in my skin. And if and this is where I got frustrated recently about this. I did a session with somebody who had been struggling with a pretty severe situation, and after one session, she said that it was no longer an issue. She was feeling like she might need to go get some medical assistance that um, would result in her no longer being here, if you understand what I mean.
Oh
Um,
wow.
and she was really considering that, and it that procedure is accepted where she is um, for what she's dealing with. And so my mindset was, well, we did this as a case study sort of situation. After 1 hour with me, 1 hour session working through this, I never once had her reimagine her traumas or put her in a situation where she was going to re-engage with those traumatic events at all. It was very abstract. It was very open. It was very safe for her. Very, I guess we would call it trauma informed. Um, After one of those, she went over 2 months without having a single trigger response. She went over 2 months without feeling like she was out of control or feeling like she was in this very dark space in her mind. She had no desire to do anything but live life to its fullest and really feel the joy of life anymore. And she was finding the joy in life for the first time ever, is what she had told me. And that's
Wow.
when the therapist said, but we haven't worked through your trauma yet, and that means we're going to have you go through this EMDR. And what happened? I got a text message after months of 2-3 times a week saying, I can't believe it, this is still working, I feel so good, to I might need another session with you, I feel horrible, I just
Hmm.
did this therapy, and now I'm not even saying that old situation is off the table anymore. And I'm like, well, because this is where it's like, well, at what point do we consider it successful, treatment successful? At what point do we have to see a full year without an episode? Do we have to see 3 months without an outbreak? What do we need to see? If you're 2 months cancer free, aren't you considered cancer free still? Doesn't mean you don't take
Mhm.
precautions. Doesn't mean you ignore the things that might happen with cancers and as it comes back and everything. But wouldn't you be considered free of that cancer in a medical scenario? And I will now be working with this person um, in between those other therapies, that because I'm going to work with the psychologist. I'm not going to work against the psychologist on any of this. I'm not trying to vilify people. I know that person's heart is in the right place. I'm not trying to make them out to be a bad guy. Like they're just trying to break what I did. I'm not, it's not about that. But my frustration comes into play when we diagnose so quickly, and then we assume these other treatments are the right thing. We find something that actually seems to work, and we negate the findings. We ignore those findings, and we still say we need to do this now. If someone is diagnosed as having cancer, and then 3 months later they come back and there's no sign of the cancer, are you still going to put them through chemotherapy or radiation?
Yeah. True.
You know what I mean? And so it's a very strange world, therapy. I didn't mean to go off too long on a tangent. It was just I get frustrated because it's so overlooked. Hypnosis is not taken seriously enough in the world of psychology. It's taken more seriously in the world of medicine than it is in the world of therapy.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing. This is really an inspiring story, and how powerful it is. So I'm really excited to have a session with you as well. Yeah, for me it was just the same. I just want to feel normal. I just, when I see someone that I'm attracted to, I don't want to feel nervous or feel anxiety or that my nervous system is triggered. I just want to talk to her and see where it goes. And it's like, it's just this battle that I have with myself constantly, just trying to remove the triggers and see what I can do to feel better, and have natural herbs to calm the nervous system, or having breathing exercise. Like, what the hell do I need to do more for me to calm that? Or do I really, is the trauma gone or not? I don't know. It's really, like you said, the therapy in the industry or the business, it's more also sometimes feel like a business, especially some therapists, they see it's doing well with the client, but they don't want to lose the client. So it's like, yeah, but maybe I need to tell him or her that something is off so they can stay a little bit more. I'm not saying it's happening, but some they will take advantage of it because it's also money making. So yeah, I agree what
it's
you say,
absolutely
Tommy.
happening with some. I think most have good hearts. I think they have good intentions. I don't want to put, I never want to place that intentionality on anybody else, because I'm not that person. I don't know what they're actually thinking. But I will say I have seen people in therapy become convinced of things that didn't actually happen.
Mm-hmm.
We've proven that the memory is not reliable. Our memory changes the moment something happens. It's altered. If we go to access that memory again, it's going to be somewhat true and somewhat false, and it's going to change and warp, and it's really more of an impression of something that occurred. How you felt is more valid than what actually happened. Again, the emotions, right? And so when we're talking through traumatic situations that we went through as children or adults even, the story that we're sharing with a therapist is not ever the whole truth. Even if we really mean it to be, even if we genuinely are doing our best to be unbiased and we're given the full picture that we understand, it's never the full truth, because your memory is altered naturally. It's not going to retain every single detail. Even under hypnosis, you're not going to remember everything perfectly as it happened.
That's true. And sometimes we block it off, we put it away. So, and even though if you have a good psychologist, they push you. Some people, they just don't want to say it, or they can't remember because they pushed it away. So it's really interesting. That's super fascinating, Tommy. Really, I'm super, yeah, I'm super, how can I say, just curious more about this stuff, and how powerful it is. So if you're ready, I say let's do a short session so I can experience it myself, and we can talk about it. And also I want to bring you back to another episode so I can share with you what happened and how I felt, so we can have another discussion about that as well.
I'd love to. And we got to do obviously a quicker version of a session today for this
Yeah.
purposes. We don't want to bore anybody who's watching, and
Yeah.
especially with the attention spans of the world today. It's all
Yeah.
TikTok short. So, but yeah, let's get into it. And if after this, I would love to hear how you feel after all of this. But I think if you want even to explore the depths of what we could do in a full session, I'm offering that to you as well.
Yeah,
That
sounds
would
good.
that would not be that we necessarily want to put out here to everything, but it could be another follow-up kind of situation.
Yeah.
And of
Sounds
course,
good.
I'll just hypnotize you to tell everybody that worked really well. That way it makes me look good, right? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I just want
Every
to
time
say
I snap my fingers, you're going to say Tommy's great, right?
Tommy is great. So
Yes,
yeah, and I want to do that. If I feel like, okay, this I'm down to earth. I'm gonna, if it doesn't work, say tell Tommy it was great, but it didn't work for me. But if it really works, like, wow, Tommy, I'm gonna tell more people about this, because more people need to know about what you're doing. So I'm super excited. So yeah, let's go through it, and we're gonna have like 20 to 30 minutes, stuff like that, or
yeah, maybe even less. So the thing I want to do with you here, the way I do this, there's no formal induction. Like you'll hear people use hypnotic inductions where they're telling you to imagine yourself walking down the stairs, and with each step I count down from 10. You'll see the swinging pocket watch, right? And they'll say you're getting sleepy.
Yeah.
Snap the fingers, and suddenly the person drops down. And there's none of that.
Yeah. Okay.
This is very natural,
good
kind
to
of
know.
just engaging with you. It's going to be asking you questions. You're going to respond to the questions. You're going to answer those questions, and just answer honestly whatever you witness and whatever you experience. This is the kind of stuff that I do for people when I work with veterans, or when I work with first responders who are dealing with a lot of pain, chronic pain, things like that. It gets them out of pain very, very quickly. And it works the same with pretty much any experience that I can throw out there. I've helped people get out of cravings for addictions. I've helped people getting out of deep-seated fears sitting next to me on an airplane. And so it's very rapid. It's very, very, I really enjoy these because it's unique. You're going to be the leader. I'm just asking a bunch of questions. So I just get to, I get to interview you, right? So at least you're subconscious. But yeah, if you're ready, then what I encourage you to do is, and I close my eyes as well, but I would encourage you to close your eyes when you're ready, and we'll just, I'll open my eyes here and there to look and just make sure that you're focused and all of that. But whenever you're ready, close your eyes and just take a really good breath. Whatever a good breath means to you. Doesn't mean it needs to be deep or shallow, just whatever feels good to you.
Okay, I'm gonna take a sip of the water and then I'll do.
Perfect. See, you're doing great already. Now, what I want you to do is think about that feeling. You mentioned when you're going to approach a lady, approach a girl. You're interested in them. You'd like to explore whether they're interested in you and see where it can go. When you think about those instances and those moments, when you're processing those feelings and those thoughts, where do you notice? Let me rephrase this. What feeling comes to mind? Feeling or feelings come to mind when you're thinking of those experiences?
I always feel it in my legs. There's a lot of tension, and there's always this tension and this, I don't know how to say it, this flight or flight mode. It's really, or I want to freeze, but I always feel it in my legs.
So
and
is
I
it
feel now my body tension, like it's building, that I want to just
like from your legs up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now
Now
I want to freeze.
This is this is interesting because there's often a central point to this. So like sometimes it feels like it's starting in your legs, but maybe it's actually starting more like at where the legs join, like in the central hip region. Does that track for
No,
you, or is it where is it in your legs? Where do you feel it first in your legs?
the feet. I always feel it in the feet and the kites.
Oh, like it's working its way all the way up.
Yeah. But usually it stays with the feet. And
Okay.
sometimes it goes to the body or the heart. And then I always feel it in the feet.
Mm. Well, we're just going to refer to that as that feeling. Okay. We're not going to give it a name. We're not going to give it any kind of classification. You know what's interesting about when we give something a name is we can start to experience it more. And what we want to do is change this experience. I want you to think of it like if we just give it the name of that feeling, it can become any feeling we want it to be. And we'll just leave it with that for a moment. And I want you to think about what color does it feel like? If you had to give it a color, what color does it feel like to you that it feels right as far as like what color it is now?
Black.
Black. What color does it feel like when you're in those moments?
Also black. It doesn't feel really fun or vivid. It feels really dark, black.
Mm,
It's more like a tar. That's what I see. That's why, like a black tar.
yeah. What color do you think it should be? What color comes to mind as what it should be to feel really good in that space?
The
There are no
white.
wrong answers. It should be like white, is it because you said dark when it was black? Is
Hmm.
it almost like it's just dark and you need to have it lit up, like the lights turned on?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Now, when you think of that space with that feeling, is there a physical form to it that's within there? You know, sometimes people will envision a shape. Sometimes people will envision just that space taking up within their body. Sometimes people actually will see like my wife, for example, saw like a ball at one point, and it was like a like one of those rubber balls. That's what came to mind for her. Does anything come to mind for you there in terms of what's in that space?
Yeah, what I see is tar just dripping.
Tar.
It's dripping.
Yeah,
I see it dripping off.
that's really interesting. Okay. Yeah. So if you were to think about something that we could do to interact with that tar, to clean it out, to clear it out, to remove it, and make space for more brightness in that space. What's something and you can get creative with this. You can get, I mean, just imaginative. There are no wrong answers. But what comes to mind is what you could do to tar to remove it from that space.
Well, what came to me was a mop with a bucket and water, just mop it off.
Okay, yeah, like clean up the sludge there, like
Yeah,
yeah. So
that's what
and
came to me.
yeah, and bear with me in this. You know, what I always do, and I'm going to do this with you. So, you know, if we're getting a little weird or unusual, that's fine because when two people are doing something weird together, it becomes a social norm. And so now we're going to create our own little social norm. I want you to just mime with your hands that movement of mopping and what you would be doing to mop it up. And I'm doing it right here with you, and just mime that, what that looks like, what that feels like. Think about what it looks like in that space, the impression, and just notice what that does to that space.
Well, it's getting brighter. Every time I just mop, I feel like I feel and I see it's getting brighter and it's getting
Yeah,
more happier.
Yeah, keep just take your time, go through it. Work that all away, clear it all up. Just make it so that that area is just spotless and
It's even on the walls as well, so I need to.
yeah, we got a lot of
It's
work to
everywhere.
do. It's years of buildup, and that takes time.
Yeah.
That takes some effort, and we'll get it. That's the beautiful thing is we're gonna get it all cleared up.
Feels like a house that I'm cleaning. I also see now windows and I see more light going through it.
Yeah, like you're opening your it's like if there's a really old dusty house and you wipe away that dust from the window and you see the beams of light coming in.
Exactly.
That's what I'm kind of seeing. That's good. Yeah. Just take your time, keep going with it. What do you notice about how you feel in the rest of your body as this is happening?
Yeah, I still feel it in the legs, but also I feel it how now also in the heart space. So in this part,
Mm,
it's not painful, but it feels warm, but also I don't know how to explain. It's a bit tense. Like the tension is a lot of
mm.
here as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and just keep cleaning that up and let's just see where we can put this, what we can do with it.
Yeah, it's getting more bright, so that's nice. It's more
Yeah,
light in the room.
that's good. You're doing great, by the way. And once you feel that brightness begin to spread throughout your whole body, I wonder what you notice about your experience within your body now as that light grows.
Feels a lot better. I feel
Yeah.
also in the house, I'm getting more smile on my face. It's like, oh yeah, it's really nice. It's getting more cleaner and it's more light.
You know what's
So I
interesting?
feel more happy.
Yeah. You know what's really interesting about smiling too? Is it makes me think of your teeth, right? Your teeth are white.
Yeah.
And we want that brightness. And I wonder if there's a link to a two-way link between smiling and how quickly that space can brighten up even. And as that space brightens up, it becomes easier to smile because you feel better. And when I feel good, I smile, and you can feel good when you smile. And it's the easiest thing in the world to feel good when you are smiling, and especially when it's a full face smile. There's just it does something to us physiologically, and I wonder if there can be that experience for you in that space there, where the bigger your smile grows, the brighter that space becomes, and therefore the brighter that space becomes, the bigger your smile can grow, and you can just feel that natural occurrence within yourself now as it grows and builds and flows within you.
What I see now, when I was smiling and looking around, there was more happiness, but also it was more green. So
Hmm.
there was more green in the house, and I see paintings, and it feels really nice. It's getting more warm and cozy.
Homier, like it's becoming more of
Yeah,
like a home inside of yourself.
yeah. It
Yeah.
feels really safe as well. Just and I hear birds whistle, and It's getting more like a home and home to go to.
That's beautiful. That's awesome. You're doing absolutely fantastic. Yeah. Isn't it good to feel this way?
Yeah, for sure. And that's what I don't do a lot. Just smile and just enjoy.
Yeah. You know, I wonder if there's a spot that old feeling leaked out of to spread like that. Does anything come to mind where it could have been like a pipe? I think of like a pipe bursting or something like that at some point where it just got on everything and it gunked everything up. And now that we've cleaned it up, we want to make sure that whatever that was, we can protect against that in the future. What comes to mind for you as to?
Well, I can see it clearer. I see it coming from out of the wall. So maybe it's a pipe that broke down inside the wall and it's dripping
Hmm.
out.
What do you
That's what I see.
do you think it's something that we could? Let me ask you this, because when I think of a pipe inside a wall, and this is your experience, so you can take this wherever you want it to go, and it's going to be the right answer regardless of anything I might ask you. And so, sometimes when there's a pipe in the wall that's doing something like that, we can look for a shut-off valve. We can look for something that would shut off that pipe. Maybe it's an old pipe from when the house was built and it's just not in use anymore, and it just had buildup from years before and we don't need it anymore, and we can just shut it off. Does that track for you?
Yeah, and what came to me was the attic, that I need to go to the attic, that something is
Yeah.
off there.
Yeah, let's explore that. Let's go on up there and just see what we can see. And
Yeah, I see a pipe.
yeah.
It's go to the house and it says pressure. There's like this white or
Mm.
this red arrow. Like when you see the pressure's building up, it's like doing this. Like there's too much pressure on the
Okay.
on it.
Yeah. Well, I wonder, is it something that's safe to turn down? Does it feel safe to turn down, or does it feel like turning it down might have a bad reaction?
I'm not sure if it's safe to turn it down because I don't know what's gonna happen if I do so.
Yeah, so
Gonna get
maybe
worse.
maybe there's a blockage that's preventing the pressure from releasing safely.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's an entry point that you could pour a solution down into, and you come up with whatever it is for you. I'm thinking of, there's those drain cleaning solutions that work their way through and they clear it out and they allow that pressure to move through and let it all just kind of drain out the way it's supposed to. But if something else comes to mind for you, let's explore that.
Yeah, what I felt like what I want to do is just track it, just see where the leakage is and
Mm,
solve that so the pressure will go down as well.
yeah. Yeah, take some time to do that. When you locate it, just let me know. Let me know what you do to it, or what you need to do to it.
Yeah, I see there's a blockage and there's a
Mm,
lot of pressure there. It's leaking. So I need to get my tools and
mm,
take that part out and put a new part in so it can remove the pressure and it can go more in flow.
yeah. Yeah, go ahead and do that. And as you do it, use your hands again, just as you were when you were mopping it up. I would encourage that. There's something about that movement that really impacts this whole process. And
Yeah, it's a rusty pipe. It's been there for
mm,
decades, and it's time to get a replacement.
yeah.
It's also leaking like crazy there, so it's it's
Oh
it's
yeah.
been crazy there.
Yeah, and how nice it'll be to get that replaced and then clean up the mess from replacing it and have it where you know there's that secure state of mind that comes with replacing that old rusty pipe, cleaning up that old mess, letting it flow and letting it go.
So
And
I
just
put in
be,
the new pipe and I'm now connecting the new part.
yeah.
Now get them up again,
Yeah, get it all cleaned
cleaning
up.
up.
Yeah. Good. And now what do you notice internally?
Yeah, I still feel it, but I feel like also the pressure is going down. Also, I can see it. The
Mm-hmm.
pressure is slowly like moving. Not like fast,
Mm-hmm.
but it's really slowly. It needs to clean itself and need to go how it needs to go. But yeah, I feel it, but I feel, yeah,
It's
better,
going to work
calmer.
its way through. Yeah, it's going to have to work its way out, just like anything else. It takes a little while for when water's flowing through pipes. If there's been some kind of obstruction, it takes some time to get all of the debris out of there. And it'll slowly wear its way through and get it cleared out. And you know that progress is there because you feel the progress, even if it's not perfect, but you feel the difference inside you. And that can be very encouraging. And what's really interesting about this whole visualization process is thinking about the body as a whole, and the mind is part of the body. And when we think about the mind as part of the body, we can start to think about the physical components of the body. We start to think about pipes. We can actually start to think about things like our blood vessels and our all the capillaries and things within our lungs, and how our body has its own filtration system in the same way, and the mind has a filtration system in the same way, and how natural it can feel to let our body function in the way that it's supposed to. It's really interesting when we get out of the way how easily the body will heal itself and function as itself, and then we'll interact with it thinking that we're doing something fine even though it's not, and it'll cause our body not to react the way it needs to. And so if we just let our body function and filter like it's supposed to, we can really have a profound effect. And what I'd like you to do is think about how cleansing a deep breath can be. Just think about it. Don't even take a deep breath yet, but think about how cleansing a deep breath feels before even doing it.
Feels really good.
Cleansing. Yeah. And sometimes we can really relate that deep breath to whatever's clogged up within us. And we can even take a deep breath. And then as we breathe it in and we then push it out, and don't do it yet, but when you do it, I want you to visualize breathing in some extra push behind that flow and breathe out with force to push that blockage through even more. And you can try that in 3, 2, 1. Now breathe in deep and cleansing, and then push it out with your breath. And sometimes we need to take more than one breath, and you take as many as you need to do just like that to push that blockage through. Exactly, you're doing perfect. And with each breath, you can just notice each little change within you. You can just notice. It may be profound, it may be minute, but it's there, and you can notice whatever those changes feel like with each breath, in and out, pushing it through and releasing. when you feel that that has been pushed through sufficiently, that you are feeling that area being cleared out, cleaned out, the flow being what it should be naturally, and you can think about that lightness all throughout yourself, all throughout your mind, body, everything, all as one, and you can start to feel it growing within you, and just knowing that each breath acts as its own filter, and each breath can actually push out some of that old feeling, that old blockage, that old gunk, whatever you want to call it. But each breath, you could just notice it. Anytime you notice that breath in through your nose, it could just be a reminder of how much more cleaning and clearing and flowing these feelings can be. And this can be a wonderful experience of noticing that that breath is now associated with this cleansing feeling. I just want you to notice, and we can all notice this as we breathe on our own. I notice when I breathe, and I notice in my breath and through my nose, I can feel a sense of calm and steadiness, a sense of peace and purpose, a sense of confidence and even joy that comes with that in through the nose feeling. It's just a beautiful, like a cleaning out of those pipes, just like you wonderfully said. And that can be a reminder for you as well, because you have within you that ability to just breathe in and breathe out that old feeling. And you can even think about, I'd like you to think in just a moment about the feeling that you would like to feel when you breathe in, the feeling that you'd like to be breathing in, imagining just if a feeling could be breathed in, what feeling you would like that to be, and what experience you'd like that to be. And when you have that thought, that feeling, I just want you to nod your head for me as though you know exactly what I'm talking about. Perfect. Yeah, and on this, when I count to 3, and I just want you to take a deep breath in when I count to 3, not until I count to 3, but I want you to take a deep breath in and hold it for 5 seconds, and then let it slowly out, and let that feeling seep in and soak in as though you're absorbing through the very lining of your lungs into your bloodstream, and your bloodstream carrying out every particle of that feeling into all those spaces where it's needed, just like it's supposed to do. Your bloodstream does this naturally with every nutrient and everything that you breathe in anyway, and you take in as you digest, and everything just kind of goes, these building blocks go where they need to go, and it knows what to do. Your body knows exactly what to do. Your mind does too. And so when you think about this as you breathe in at the count of 3, not until I count to 3, hold that breath and hold that feeling in and feel it growing over the course of those 5 seconds. And as you breathe out, I want you to think about it, filling in those spaces within you. Nod your head for me if you understand. Perfect. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in. All the way, and hold it for 5 seconds. Feel it growing within you for those 5 seconds. All the way. Feel it really building within you. And then you would finally release. When you do release in those 5 seconds, you can just let go of everything else and let that good feeling go through your circulatory system. Let that good feeling flow all to the places it needs to go, and fill in those gaps. And you can do this as many times as you need to feel the fullness of that feeling within you. Knowing that each breath pulls in more of this feeling. Each breath in is pulling in more of this good feeling that you want more of. And each exhale is just your body filtering out everything else, just as your lungs are supposed to, naturally and automatically. Because we all have that ability to filter out things instantly and automatically without even thinking about it. And you yourself have the ability to do this exact thing, filtering all of these things, filtering in and filtering out. And you can think to yourself, now I have the ability through my breath to filter things in and filter things out, and allow my body to do exactly what it's supposed to do, just as it was designed to do. And when you feel the fullness of that feeling within yourself now, when you feel it to the fullest extent that you can possibly feel anything, whatever that means to you, just let yourself take one more deep, sealing breath in. Let that seal in that ability to make this change, noticing that feeling growing in, and then as you exhale, open your eyes and come all the way back. So what do you notice?
I feel really good. I feel
Good.
really lighten up. I feel really like connected with myself again. Just also now the sensation in my legs and my feet are more not like detention, but more like exhilaration, like just good feelings.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Now close your eyes for a second again. Close them real quick for me. And I want you to freeze with this feeling, hold this feeling, and I want you to think about and visualize the next time you see a girl that you would like to approach, just breathing in and feeling that feeling flood you again. Twice as strong, twice as much. And as you release that breath, just feeling the beauty of the moment of recognizing her beauty and the desire and faith in yourself to go up to her and just naturally engage, coming with that breath. And how wonderful it'll feel knowing that all it took was a breath. Just the noticing of that breath. And how free that can be. And when you lock that feeling in, you'll lock it in with a deep breath again. And then when you are ready to breathe out, just let your eyes open back up and feel it to its fullest.
It's really just when you told me to the feeling and breathing in and breathing out, I saw myself just feeling confident and walking up to her and have a big smile on my face, like, "Hey, how are you?" I just started a conversation, and yes, she had a huge smile on her face. She was really enjoying the conversation, and I felt really calm. And so I feel just like like you said, you feel really powerful. It's just I feel the rushing sensations of feeling good, just not the fear and anxiety and what if, but really like the confidence and really feel good and how I made her feel.
Mm-hmm. Well, and what's interesting about this is this new feeling, this new experience within you now, regardless of how she responds, you can have that. And
Mhm.
regardless of how she responds, there can be pride that grows within you and confidence that grows within you, knowing that you have responded to the feeling of wanting to reach out. And that in itself can drive more of that behavior. And just noticing just the need to take a breath in between.
Mhm.
So regardless of how she responds, which may or may not be in the way that you desire at that moment, is irrelevant, because the fact is you're even more capable now of doing it again and
Wow,
feeling
Tommy,
that
this
same feeling. Yeah.
yeah, I didn't want to cut you off, but it's such a different feeling now. The feeling before was just different and really like caught, just but now it feels like, yeah, it's like you said in the beginning, like you can feel like you can take on the world, and that's how I feel. It just feels so empowering. I feel empowering. So strange. In the beginning, it was just like, ugh, but now I feel really good about myself and confident.
Well, and I would encourage you, if you watch this back, notice your face before we did this and notice your face after it. because there is a lightness to your face and to your eyes. When I said
Yeah.
like the light goes on behind someone's eyes, that's my favorite thing. You're smiling more. I see like this. It's like a face of possibilities, right? Like the future is ahead,
Yeah.
and you now have it there to take it on, and it's really nice to see that.
Yeah, and I feel it. I feel, I don't know how to explain it. It's like you said, you need to experience it yourself, but I feel different. And yeah, I feel more happy and joyous. And that's also what I saw in the house. It was really dark and messy, and I saw just tar everywhere. And once I started to clean and saw the hole or where it was coming from, I just visualized it was, I need to go to the to the top of the
Yeah,
house. And there I saw a pressure, like how to say it in English, like there was
like a
a
gauge.
kettle. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it
yeah.
was like a kettle, and there was pipes everywhere, and I saw pressure just constantly like this, like constantly pressuring. And then when you told me how to fix it, repair it, I felt better. I felt this. I felt slowly felt better. Still, I felt the needle like going like this, but I saw slowly. And then when we do the breathing, I felt a different sensation in my body. Still, I feel it. Like it's different. It's a lot different when I did it with my psychologist.
Well, what do you let me ask you this. What do you notice if you take a deep breath in through your nose now? What do you feel when you let go?
Just empowerment. That's what I
Yeah.
feel. Just yeah, I feel empowered and I feel really good. Also, when I do the inhales, like I feel I take the tension out of my legs and the body, and then just when I breathe out, it just I flush it. It just goes out.
Mm-hmm. It's awesome.
It is, and that feeling, just feeling good. It's that's always what I've been looking for. Like you said, it doesn't matter in what kind of situation you are, just feeling good, no matter what happens. That's so powerful. Wow. I felt it in the beginning. Once you started it and talking to me, I felt the change. I felt the house and everything started to unfold. Everything started to get a picture. Wow, Tommy, thank you so much for this.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure. I love doing it. Truly.
Yeah,
It's
I can
always really
tell.
interesting to me. This is something that for me, a lot of hypnotists will use hypnosis scripts. They'll read a script to you, like they have it
Mhm.
prepared. They've taken the time to write it out. They've prepared it and all of that. And this just works so much faster and this works so much better. And you led the whole experience. It was all about what you were experiencing. Because if I'm telling you to visualize something else, it's going to be different,
Yeah.
right? Whereas if you're telling me what you're experiencing, so I'm the kind of guy, if I close my eyes and you tell me to picture something, I can't see it. I don't
Yeah,
see
it's
colors.
true.
I don't see shapes. I don't see. I feel more than it's more of an impression of something than an actual visualization. And so this sort of technique I found works across all mind types. And it's different than what most hypnotists will do. There's similarities. There's a lot of similarities of things. There's processes like anchoring that took place. If you're familiar with that concept,
Yeah.
there's like reassociation and reframing and that sort of a thing. But um, what's really you were asking me what's some of the differences between a therapist, a typical therapist, and or a therapy session and a hypnotherapy session, or hypnosis session, if you want to get less specific. Um, I would ask this. Have you ever felt like this after a therapy session, a standard therapy session of any kind?
No, usually when I was done, I was drained. I was exhausted. I was so
That's the
tired, and
that's
I
the biggest difference. You feel good after you get hypnotized in this
Yeah.
way.
Still do. I feel
And
really
when
good.
you feel good, can't you do more with your life when you feel good and you feel empowered? Like, doesn't that turn into a bigger reaching picture of greater effects in your life? It's like a domino knocking down the other dominoes, right? You feel
Yeah.
good, it starts to create the chain reaction of everything else, right? You feel good, you start asking girls out. You start asking girls out, you get a date. You get a date, you start feeling even better. And
Yeah, it's true.
you feel good emotionally, you start making more emotionally stable choices. You eat healthier, you exercise more because you just feel motivated. You feel good. And if you feel it's that. Whereas if you just feel drained after something, then it turns into you got to decompress, right? You have to uh, relax after that. You have to build back up to what you want to be.
Yeah.
Where this we didn't just bypass the negative stuff, right? We didn't just skip over it and jump right into feeling good. That would have been fleeting. That would have been superficial. It would have been like painting over sludge, right? But
Hmm.
what we did was we interacted with that negative in a way that didn't require you to experience something traumatic. And that created the positivity that you were looking for, that you got to define for yourself. I didn't even ask you what that word was or what that feeling was that you wanted to feel. But you got to choose that within yourself and just have that, because sometimes people don't want to, they might be embarrassed or something. They don't want to say that word. Sometimes it feels that way. And so that's why I love this approach, because it is just as impactful as anything else, if not more. And it was very quick. It wasn't it might have been a half hour total at most from start to finish. And it feels so much better. And now every time you take a breath, you'll just notice it.
I feel
And
it right away.
the noticing it, we've created that mechanism within you. So it's like creating a tool within yourself that you already do naturally, right? I'm not telling you that you're going to tap your hand 3 times or you're going to, do anything else. You're just breathing, which you do
Yeah.
anyway because you have to stay alive.
Yeah, but it's so different because when we talked in this interview, usually it's like the hypnosis, like when they use like you said with the clock, or when I snap my finger, this happened, and you didn't do anything of those. You really went into a calm way and really slowly moved and guided me, and not telling me what I needed to do or what I needed to become. You really helped me to face what the problem was, what happened,
Mm-hmm.
and really made a solution for myself, because you weren't there. I did it by myself. Yeah, you were there, you were here, but you were not. I wasn't seeing you in the house. I was hearing you, but I wasn't seeing you. And I did everything by myself. So it was really interesting how I discovered it by myself, by just guidance. It's really cool.
Well, and on top of that, so because you can do these sorts of things yourself, absolutely. What helps about and hypnotists don't often use each other's services enough. I'm just going to put that out there.
Hmm.
We need to use each other more for these kinds of things. We need to work together to lift each other up that way. But so I had somebody walk me through this process as well. I could have done it myself, right? But when I was in a lot of pain, I was too close to the problem. And so as I'm in my own head and getting the impressions and the feelings associated, I was so close to it that it was hard for me to think of how should I interact with this? What should I do with this? Whereas if somebody's asking me that question, for a brief moment, hearing their voice takes me out of that uh, being stuck in my own head. And that's how it was for me anyway. But hearing their voice changed my interaction. And then it turned into now I can re-engage in a different way. And and so it's where it's like having somebody coach you through it like that is infinitely more impactful, and you can do it yourself even without that person. Yeah.
Tommy, I feel so good. It's scary, really. It's. I never felt this good in a long time, really. I felt good, but not like this exhilarating, overpowering feeling. It's always this, I need to push myself or I need to force myself to do things. And I was like, yeah, I'm excited.
That's awesome. Well, I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah, it's really cool. So yeah, this is I need to process this as well and see also what's gonna happen in the next couple of days. But I'm really excited what's gonna bring. So Tommy, I'm super grateful that you wanted to do this with me and also that you took the time for sitting here with me and doing this and also giving me the experience to experience it because I heard a lot about hypnosis, but how you do it, it's really cool. I saw I got an error, but it's fine.
Yeah. Well, and you'll notice something if you, I don't know what time it is where you are right now. It's like late afternoon where I am. But I think you're like 6 hours ahead of me, I think.
Yeah, it's 9:20 p.m.
So I don't know what time you normally would go to bed, but I would recommend going to bed in the next hour or two if you can. If you can't, that's okay. But sleep is when we process things. Sleep is when things really get digested and absorbed the way that they're supposed to. When you study before you sleep, you're going to learn that information better.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with hypnosis. When you have a hypnosis session, if you sleep for a while afterward, you're going to find that the effects take hold much better. And they can be as long lasting as you want them to be at that point, as your mind is willing to accept it. And I would just encourage you to recognize how often and when you notice your breath. Just catch yourself doing it when you notice it. You don't have to count it. You don't have to document it, but just when you notice your breath, just recognize the fact that you noticed your breath and notice what that does to you.
Well, actually, I've been doing it right now and I'm more aware of the breathing. And plus, when I inhale, I feel like this exhilarating, furious power and just I feel calm and really good. And that's not what I had in the beginning.
Yeah. That's excellent.
Every time when I inhale, it's like I feel this power. Just is it also that you use some NLP tactics or?
So NLP and hypnosis they're just like this. They're
okay.
So NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, it does essentially the same sort of things as hypnosis does. NLP can have you closing your eyes, or it can have your eyes open. Hypnosis can have you close your eyes, or you can have your eyes open. NLP, there's often less direct suggestion. It's more, let's change the wording that we're using. Let's frame something a little bit differently and associate it with a feeling and that sort of thing. So there is some of that in there, but that all stems from hypnosis. NLP comes directly from, so Bandler and Grinder created NLP, and that came from their studies of Dr. Milton Erickson, who utilized a lot of metaphor and a lot of storytelling in his hypnosis sessions. And that the metaphor and storytelling really guided those sessions and created the progress. There's some really great writings out there about Milton Erickson's storytelling, and I highly recommend people check those out. But it all stems from that, so it comes from hypnosis essentially.
Got it. Well, thank you so much. I don't know what to say. I feel really good. The only thing that is not really a concern, but what it can cause the problem if I feel like, okay, I feel really bad. I feel I cannot talk to women. I feel the anxiety. Is it really that I'm talking or I'm going back to the old habits or the old way of talking to myself, thinking, or is it really you programmed it? So it really is like now you change the mindset, you change the unconscious mind. Is that way
Yeah,
to have
well,
a
and
fallback?
so people can go back to the way they thought before being hypnotized.
Hmm.
Oftentimes they do, if they really don't accept the change, if they don't want that change in for the right reasons, you know. Now, what I tell people is the words you tell yourself create the house you live in. You were just in this house that you live in inside yourself, right? So this works beautifully.
Yeah.
The words you tell yourself, I can, that's letting light in. I've got this. I am good enough. When you've got those positive words that you're telling yourself with each breath, right? Each breath helps to reinforce those. The more you tell yourself those positive words in your own mind, you don't have to say it out loud. You don't want to look like a crazy person. But the the more you tell yourself that in your own mind with those breaths and you notice it, the more likely you are to stay on that path. The other words, the other kinds of negative um, experiential words, words like I can't, or um, or associating yourself with I tell people when they want to quit smoking, don't call yourself a smoker anymore.
Yeah.
You're not a smoker. You are someone who has smoked. You used to smoke. Things like that. If you're thinking of a lack of confidence or anything like that, think of the fact, word it in a way in your head, and catch yourself and say, oh, I used to be that way. I used to have a lack of confidence. I used to be unconfident, but I used to lack confidence. I now have confidence. And you can even follow up with, I now have this feeling I wanted. I didn't used to feel this feeling, but now I feel that feeling. And so you can catch it in those ways. But the simple act of noticing your breath will trigger your memory to feel those feelings, to notice those feelings, and those thoughts will start with you, the positive thoughts. That's why I like to use the breath in that way, because the breath filters anyway, right? It's a natural
Yeah.
function. So we filter, and our brains should be filtering, and they do. And so this is a way of associating those two filter functions to be something positive and create the result that you want moving forward.
Tommy, you know what I feel right now? I'm sweating. I feel my body really warm. It's like I'm cleansing. It feels like I'm taking out the stuff that's not needed anymore.
Yeah.
It's just I never had this with my psychologist. I was I remember the first time when I did EMDR, I was just done. I was so sick to the bone. I was shivering. I had fever. It was really awful, an awful experience afterwards.
Well,
And this
and
feels a
and
lot better.
and it's strange to me that that's thought of as being a useful technique for overcoming things, because if you are I'm going to go back to cancer, right? If someone has a cancerous tumor, the object isn't to make it bigger to then make it smaller. The object is to decrease the effect of it, right? And with some of these other therapies, I noticed that it seems like it makes the problem feel bigger in an attempt to make it
Mhm.
feel smaller, or to take the power away from it. Whereas if we can interact with it in a different way, if we can I think of it this way. When I work with someone on pain, especially, um, I work with someone on removing pain, or overcoming chronic pain. uh, I'll tell them, you know what, let's remove the name pain. Sort of what I did with you. I said we're going to call it that feeling, whatever that is. And I'll say, we're going to call it the sensation or whatever. And the reason I do this is because if I ask you to tell me what is a triangle, you could tell me exactly what a triangle is, right? It's a shape that has three sides, three corners, right? Corners add up to 180 degrees if we measure those, right? That's, the one thing I remember from high school. And it's very specific. You can create a specific shape to it. And we can get more specific. We could say an isosceles triangle or a right triangle or what. We can get more specific, but that shape, you can tell me what it is. If I instead say, tell me what a shape is, it starts to make you think like, how would I explain this? It takes away the specificity of it, and therefore it takes away the power of it, right? And so if I say, we're just going to call it that shape, well, now that shape can turn into anything we want it to turn into, right? That feeling can now turn into whatever feeling we want it to turn into. And that's where I'm saying the words we tell ourselves create our reality, right? Create the house we live in.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always say whatever you tell yourself, you become. It's the same.
Amen.
You become what you eat. If you eat junk food, you're gonna get fat. So it's the same if you use toxic words, you're gonna feel bad.
Yeah. Exactly.
So yeah, I always say that's such a good reminder, and thank you so much for sharing. You become what you say to yourself, and that's people overlook that, and especially when we've been traumatized or conditioned by social media and how we need to behave, how we need to talk. If you're gonna do that over and over again, you're gonna put it in your computer, and you're gonna think, you're gonna act, behave, and you're gonna manifest it. If you talk yourself, I not worthy to make money, you're gonna manifest that. You're not gonna attract money in abundance. So it's really important to change your language. And what I struggle the most, I wanted to change the mind, or to change the how I talk, but the fear, the anxiety, and the feelings, the nervous system, I couldn't think. I couldn't change. And the reptilian brain and the cortex, or everything was just. And after the experience happened, if I walked away from a girl, then I couldn't think again. It's like, why couldn't I talk to her? I was there, and still I couldn't talk. I couldn't speak. So I know that I can do it. I know I can talk to her, but in that moment, it's like, just this. It was always this panic, and and now I learned also through those things, like, okay, next time it's okay. Next time I will talk to her. Next time I will say this, instead of beat myself up like, why didn't I do this? And that's what I did most of the time, and this is what people are doing. They beating themselves up when they don't do is something that they want to do. But it's more, right? It's more in this deeper layer of the mind, and unconsciously. And still I'm sweating. It's like, man, what did you do to me?
Opened you up, right?
Yeah, you did. Yeah. Well,
but only
Tommy,
to
thank
yourself.
you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
oh, it's my pleasure, really. And just to put it out there for anyone listening, anyone who's watching, I'm going to share a link, and anyone who uses that link, if you want a session with me, you use that link, you get 10% off. And just,
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I want people to be able to get the help that they need. And I like doing this in this way where you're never going to tell me your secrets. You're never going to tell me about your trauma. You're never going to open up about all those other. You're going to make it. You are safe in the way you do it when you do it this way, because it is for you to witness and experience. It is not my experience. I can't put myself in your head. And so, yeah, I'm happy to give that. And if I could, I would love to hear back from you, in a few days, and see how you're feeling.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna right now. I need to process it. Like you said, when I'm going to bed, then the body's gonna. But what I liked, I just wanted to say this, Tommy, and I also want to talk a little bit about the book and the story behind that and everything. But what I liked about what you did was I didn't share about my traumas. I didn't share what happened. I didn't go through it again, because when I did EMDR, I go through it again. I felt it again.
Mm-hmm.
All those things didn't happen when I did that session with you, and it was such a more pleasant experience and a more calming. And afterwards, I felt more empowerment instead of drained and emotionally drained. Because the first time when I did EMDR, I just cried. I just broke down. I just started to cry.
Yeah.
So that was for
Yeah.
me. This felt a lot more nicer and to go through it. And plus, I was feeling I was doing it on my own. I was healing myself from within instead of looking at a light and going through
Yeah.
it. I felt like I was in control of going inward and healing myself. That's what I've experienced right now.
No, that's awesome. And I think that's the key right there, like you said, and that's again,
Yeah.
and that's the difference between
Whew.
typical therapy and what this what this can be, because nobody, and there's a fear and a shame associated a lot of times with trauma,
Yeah.
right? I mean, there's fear, of course, but a lot of times there's shame associated with that. We don't want to be completely open and honest with the therapist about every thought. We're afraid, like, if we express every thought that we had. Now, we hear stories about people being locked up in psych wards for for certain things and certain thoughts and whatever, and it's like, am I going to be flagged for this? Am I going to say the wrong thing? And it was just a passing thought, but I don't want to share. You know what I mean? Like, there's sometimes people feel
Yeah.
those things, and I'm not saying that it's I'm not saying that that therapist is going to be that person to immediately assume the worst and call the authorities or whatever. You know what I mean? But when you can then know that you are not going to throw out whatever words, you're not going to have to verbalize something, some deep held something. You don't have to verbalize that. You always know what you feel. You're not going to lie to yourself internally. Internally, you know what you're feeling. You know what you've experienced. You know what's happening. And it becomes safe to then be in that space, in that moment, because it's only you who is experiencing it. There's no sharing. There is no, you're sharing the abstract, and the abstract makes it feel safer. And it makes it so that there really, I mean, what judgment could I have had over anything that you said? Right?
Mm-hmm.
If I was a judgmental person, what judgment could I have had? You know?
I'm still just blown away, really, really, after what I'm feeling right now. Just, I'm still like sweating. I still feel it. My legs and my body is like, wow, I never experienced something like this before. I'm so grateful that I can experience in it this way as well, even though I also did EMDR and stuff like that. And yeah, I'm really grateful for this, Tommy. So thank you so much. Yeah, I'm super grateful. So yeah, the thing that I want to talk about you is the book, because you wrote a book about doing it yourself. You can hypnotize yourself, and I really want to order a copy as well, because I want to read it and give it to other people so they can try it out as well. But you shared me the story with your friend with the candy. So can you share with us that story and why you wanted to read the book or write the book?
Well, so the book is called Self-Help No Therapy. I know it's backwards on the screen, but you could probably figure out how to spell it all backwards. And it's liberating your mind through puzzles and stories. And this one's about addictions and compulsions. I'm going to actually do a series of these. So it's not
Oh,
just going to be
nice.
addiction. I want to do one for phobias. I want to do one for anxiety, one for, confidence building, things like that. But what I was trying to think of was, hypnosis it's expensive to work with me. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You're seeing, you can go to therapy for 2 years, spend however much per time you go to the therapist, and or insurance pays or whatever it is. I don't know what it is over there, but it's like $50 per session over here usually, and people go over the course of so many years, um, and they end up spending a whole lot more. Now, I can't take insurance. I can't bill insurance. I can't do anything like that. There's not a way for me to do that. So I know that I'm expensive for what I charge, and that's one reason why I'm giving the discount here. But also, I'm like, I always want to make it accessible for people who desperately need it. Tom Silver was also very expensive. He used to charge people sometimes $500 for a session. But he was working with celebrities. He was hypnotizing, like the Kevin Costners of the world, the Jimmy Kimmels of the world. He was their hypnotist. And so he was helping them. But then when people would desperately need his help, he would just sit them down in the chair and hypnotize them. He would just help them. He didn't charge them. If it was like a person who was just completely flat broke and they were addicted to drugs, and they were losing their family, they were losing their house, they were like, I need help, I just don't know when I can afford you. He would sit them down, he would take care of it for them right then and there, and wouldn't charge them a dime. And I love that. I want to be at the point where I can afford to do that for everybody. Right?
Yeah.
My pain sessions, I do it usually for free for veterans and people like that who, they've given something to society. I want to give something back to them. But I was trying to think of a way that I could make hypnosis more accessible, more affordable. And I'm like, I want to write another book, because I wrote a book about about hypnosis and my faith as a Christian called Transformed, Hypnosis Through the Lens of Scripture. But I wanted to write a book that could transform somebody without having to have a hypnotist do the session for them. I wanted to see what can I do to make this impact. And so I was praying one night, and this thought came to me about the swinging pocket watch. And I was thinking about, why does that work? Why does the swinging pocket watch work? Why does it, like the back and forth? What is effective about that? Well, what happens when you're doing that is it's creating an artificial sense of the rapid eye movement. So your eyes, when you're processing, when you're dreaming, your eyes go into that rapid eye movement state, that REM state, and you're doing like this kind of a fluttering. I don't know if you can see, but like this fluttering of the eyelids. And that's the dreaming mind. People, when they're in hypnosis, go into that as well. And one of the ways that we can trigger that response is by making the eyes move back and forth or up and down or whatever it is. We just make the eyes move. And so it got me thinking, well, what if I could create that hypnotic artificial REM state just by having people read something in a different way? And it got me thinking, I had this idea of, if I could have them read in a way that was different than across and across and across and across, but was more like back and forth rapidly. And then I started playing with it over the course of a while. It took me a while to come up with this, but essentially what happens is this book is designed in such a way that it teaches you how to go into that state of rapid eye movement by you read this section about how to, and then you read through this. There's direct instructions at the bottom. You jump back up, you read it again, read this next column, direct instructions, jump up, read it again, direct instructions, and then you come over here and start reading. And what happens is, the way that you're doing this, it's activating different parts of hypnosis. It's creating that confusion, which is big in hypnosis and NLP. It's creating fractionation, which is when you go in and out of hypnosis. And it makes it more profound of an effect. But not to get too detailed and nerdied up with you, but those pages are in this book, throughout the book, that puts you into the hypnotic state of mind. Whereas then you go on, you have your goals, you got to list it all out, and you have to actually write in this book. There is not a digital version of this book available, because you have to handwrite in this book. Cool. I want it to be your handwriting. And there's a lot of reasons behind that, but then you go into this section here where you fill in the blanks. There's a lot of blanks. There's 15 of them, and it's like give a word for a difficult emotion or state of mind. Use a noun. Number 2 is give a word for a desired feeling that you'd rather experience. Noun form. And it goes through, and you go through and you fill all these out. They're all numbered, and then it tells you which pages you're going to fill in the blanks. And then you follow those pages, number 1 here, number 2 here, number 3 here, and you're going to fill in those blanks. It's a process, right? But it walks you through it. And then what happens is it takes about an hour and a half, 2 hours to get through this whole thing all the way start to finish. And you got to do it in one sitting. And the pages put you into hypnosis. And what you do is you fill in those blanks, and it's telling you a story, similar to how Milton Erickson would tell you a story. It's metaphorical, a lot of visuals, a lot of things like that. And you go through this series of stories with your words put in and different techniques putting you in and out of hypnosis all throughout the book. And then by the end, there's a profound change that comes through you where you no longer feel that compulsion. You no longer feel the pull toward your addiction that you're working out of. You feel more of a clear-headedness around it and just a natural desire to just ignore that impulse, that compulsion, that feeling. And so when I was coming up with this concept, I wanted to have somebody that would test it for me that I knew would be honest with me if it was working or not. I didn't want to put something out on the market that I didn't know if it was going to even have an impact, because that's a great way to make yourself look like a fool. And I also am not just looking to make a bunch of money off of people. I'm not looking to sell them something that doesn't work. You know, I think there's something about integrity. I think it matters. And so I gave it to my friend, and he had this compulsion of eating candy. He would just sit there and eat candy all day. He's a truck driver, so he has candy with him all the time. He'd stop at a gas station, he'd get another bag of candy. He'd eat it all the whole day. Well, he ate his daughter's entire bag of Halloween candy. I don't know if you guys do trick-or-treating and all that, but we do, and it's a big deal. And he ate all of it in one sitting.
Wow.
And she's pretty young. She's like 4. I think she's like 4 now, 4 or 5. And he basically was talking about that. I said, well, you want to give this book a shot? I need someone to see if this works. And he goes, yeah. So I ordered an author's copy, because it's all through Amazon. I ordered an author's copy for that purpose. And I sent him home with it. And I said, just give me all, let me know when. I don't want you to sugarcoat anything. No pun intended. I don't want you to sugarcoat anything. I want it to be completely honest. Let me know what you notice, if you notice anything. And it took him a week or two to actually get into it, to do it. And he said that, and this was in mid-November he got to it. And he said that I messaged him just like a month ago. He hasn't had the impulse to touch a piece of candy since he went through the book. He said it's been since mid-November. He has not had a piece of candy, and nor has he had a desire to eat a piece of candy if it's been presented to him. And I thought that was pretty cool. I was like, oh, that's great. You know, as soon as it worked for him for the month of November and all of that in December, I was like, okay, I'm scheduling this to be released now. Great. You know, proofread it and get it out there. But it was really cool to see that his compulsion went away with this. And now I'm not delusional. I'm not thinking it's all going to work for every single person out there for every single issue. That's not the way this works. Excuse me. Ugh. But I need to do this for my yawning. I yawn constantly. But seeing that it had that effect on him was inspiring enough for me to want to release it and get it out there, because, you know, you can work with a hypnotist for like me. It's like over $250 to work with me typically, you know, $250 US. And that book's $25, you know, so it's like, if I tell people, try the book first. If the book works for you, great. You don't need me then beyond that book. If the book doesn't work for you, let me know. I'll just take $25 off the price. Let's just, I want it. I want it to be fair. I don't want you to just think that you're just loading me up with money. But that's. But I stand by it. It's been really cool to see people saying, "Wow, I do notice a difference." So, yeah, it's called self-help no therapy. I'll send you a link.
Yeah, for sure.
Hopefully it's available on y'all's Amazon. If not, then we'll have to figure something out.
Yeah, I will check it out. I will check it out. I will check it out if it's available here. But usually, sometimes what I've noticed with Amazon or another supplier, if you, for example, I live in the Netherlands and I go to Germany, they have it there, so they will ship it from Germany to the Netherlands. So there's always a way. So I will see it's available in the Netherlands. But yeah, it's
Cool.
such a cool story, and that it worked from a book. That's really cool. I never
It
heard
blew my
like,
mind. Yeah.
yeah. How did you feel that in the moment? Like, okay, this is so cool. Now I can do more with this.
It made me. It got the cogs in my brain turning more. Like, what else? What
Yeah.
else could we do? Like, what other ways could we reach more people, and what other ways can we make hypnosis more accepted and more accessible? It's and there's I mean, a lot of hypnotists, they just don't they know what they've been taught, but they don't really explore it beyond that a lot of times. And I think it's the same with any profession. A lot of people, they learn some skill and then they keep it at that skill and they don't really explore it beyond that. And I see it as inspiring because now I'm like, I just want to take this as far as I could take it. I want to see if we don't know what's possible, then how can we say it can or can't help with whatever else? And so
I agree.
yeah.
The thing, Tommy, what came to me is when you think about hypnosis, it's about making people do things or like a chicken or forget something, but it's not really like spread out like how to help people. And that's what you're the first person actually, or the second I've been looked for because I was curious. So I found somebody in Amsterdam, but part of me didn't go. I don't know why. Maybe it wasn't the right time. But you were the second person that I've seen on the internet helping people with hypnosis instead of making them do things. So that's why I got so attracted and having you on the show, because of your having fun with it as well, of course, but you're also helping a lot of people with it, and this is so cool.
Yeah, and having fun with it, I think, is important too, because
Yeah.
what better way to showcase the power of your mind to a whole group of people than a hypnosis show? If I can make you forget your name, imagine what we could do with that nasty habit you want to quit.
True. Yeah, I was thinking because I'm also building a course for men to quit porn, and I also want to put the book in there as well. So even though my course is not really working for them, they can still, it will work. It's more like an awareness course, so they can become aware of their habits. But I will also want to give them the tool, like, hey, try this out, try if that works for you. So we will figure something out to make that work, so I can also put your book there and in there as well, so people can check it out.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So yeah, I still feel sweaty. It's been such a crazy experience. I didn't expect this at all. So yeah, I'm really curious what is gonna happen, or how I'm gonna feel the upcoming days. So I'm gonna keep you updated for that as well. And I want to definitely have you back on the show, because we've been talking about hypnosis, but I haven't really go in depth about your story, like who you started from, what you're doing, and now. So I want to talk next time more about you as well, because also when we talked for the first time, we also discussed your traumas and also how you had problems as well. So it's really
Yeah.
interesting also sometimes to go more in depth about you and what were your strugglings were and stuff like that. Now we, because of time, we can't. So I want to bring you up for the next time so we can have my experience and also your journey as well. And you probably also hypnotize yourself. That's also possible, right? That you can hypnotize
Yeah,
yourself.
I do that most nights. Most nights I do self hypnosis. It helps me to relax from the day and to I hypnotize myself as I'm praying. You know, I pray every night. I pray
Got it.
constantly. And so I use it as a means of clearing out the noise, get rid of the noise that's going on in my head and in the world around me and in my house around me and the snoring of my kids and until I start snoring because I know I snore. But I use it as a tool to block out the noise and then focus on what I want to focus on. And the more you do it for yourself, the more you experience it, the more easily you can go into it. And so now it's just a matter of I'll literally lay in bed and I'll take a breath, close my eyes. As I exhale, I just feel myself enter that space. Like now I'm here. I feel good.
Positive.
Yeah,
Positive self-talk.
that's right.
So yeah, that's it. I'm just like, wow, it's amazing. Even though there were some people were commenting, and I have one more question for you that you might want to answer. It's interesting because I also did fasting as well. So this was the question that I got from Dido Planet. So what can you say about this?
I think fasting is great. I don't think it has any impact on hypnosis and the ability to be hypnotized or clear out the brain, though. I think fasting is phenomenal for resetting your gut. I love fasting. So
Same
I
here.
agree with what they are saying. You don't need to reset your gut to observe base brain function, though. You can do that, and it will help you if you aren't in a state of hypnosis. You're not working with a hypnotist. I recommend it. I absolutely agree. I recommend fasting, but that's different. It is good for your mind to fast. It is good for your body to fast. To what degree, it's up to you. You know, fasting is more than just depriving yourself of food. You can fast from screens. You can fast from, your brain function is actually going to improve significantly the longer you are away from a screen. Like a phone screen, computer screen, TV screen. The more we can get away from the artificial lighting and things like that, your brain starts to actually function better. And starts to get back to that brain what do they say the base brain function. And so I think any of that stuff is good advice. I don't think that it's necessary to make the changes that you want to make, and I don't know to what degree it would impact the profoundness, how profound the impact is of the hypnosis. I haven't personally tested that. I think it's worth seeing. I'm all about exploring it, but in my experience, it hasn't been like something that I've ever recommended someone do leading up to or post hypnosis, unless that was the goal, was they wanted to fast and find it easier to fast and have better focus. So it's an interesting comment. Like I said, I love fasting. I think it's essential. It's good.
Yeah, I agree. Same for me. I do it from time to time. Also, I listen to the body. If I don't feel hungry or I don't want to eat, I just don't do it. I just let the body will tell me that I don't need it, so I will do the fasting. And sometimes I feel like, yeah, I just want to do fasting because I feel it's needed. And it's really important in today's society that we start listening to our bodies, our feelings, our emotions, and the gut feeling. It's so important, and we just go and work and on the phones all day and no intention for ourselves or the heart. So it is so important, and I just love what you do, Tommy. Just it's so cool, and now that I lived it and experienced it, I'm really grateful that we can do this. And yeah, I'm I just don't know what to say. I highly recommend to for people that I'm seeing this, and I can say what I feel, but you have to experience it yourself. So I highly recommend to reach out to Tommy and talk to him and see what he can do for you. I highly recommend it. So I'm really grateful. So thank you so much, Tommy. So before we're gonna wrap it up, I have a question for you. And I always use, or I always ask this question to my guests. We haven't talked more a lot about your life and stuff like that. So my question is to you: what was the lowest point in your life, and what was the most achieving or the most furious moment in your life? You say like, "Wow, this is the best day of my life."
It's a good question. Lowest point. I think the lowest point of my life was I was working for a manufacturing company about an hour and a half from my house. It's a 90-minute drive from my house. I was doing that, driving every day, and it was a company that really did not care about its employees, really didn't value its workers at all. And I heard those words from the CEO's mouth, and just really treated people badly. And I just felt so stuck there. And I don't know if it was while I was there or if it was at the next job, but that started the spiral for me. And I remember just feeling I hit one spot, just before I went into self-employment. It was brutal. It was very dark. Did not enjoy life, we'll say. And I mean, I got out of that and I'm great now. I would say the most beautiful experience of my life, honestly, I think it's been finding my faith, especially alongside my wife. I mean, we've got 6 beautiful kids, and they're all awesome, and I'm so happy to be around them all day. We homeschool, and I'm around them all day, and they're awesome kids. But growing in our faith together, my wife and I, has really shifted something in our relationship. It's made us so much closer, and it's impacting like the way that we do everything for the better. I don't feel stressed like ever anymore. I don't feel anxious or it's one of those, like, when we feel a pull, we pray about it together, we talk about it together, we work through it together, and we encourage each other. And I didn't have that before. And it's been really, I would say that's got to be the most beautiful experience. That's got to be the one that stands out as like, this changed everything for the better, was the two of us. We actually got baptized together. And so that was a huge, that I would say that's it right there.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing, especially when you were at lowest point. And I feel like there's a lot of people stuck there, like the 9 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
Most bosses don't care about you, and you just waste your life away making someone else rich. And
Yep.
you just do it, and you never ask yourself, what's more out there? What can I do for myself? How can I make my life more meaningful? My passion, my purpose, what can I do about it? And you followed it. You followed your passion, your purpose, and you're living it now. And you have a beautiful family, and you're just living the life that you want to live. And that's my gift also for people as well, that they gonna go back in the heart space and do what they feel is important, not what society, governments, or other systems ask you that you need to do, but live from the heart. What do you want to do in your life? So that's so important, and you're living it. And yeah, that's my goal as well, to do what I do full time so I can help people and live the life how I want to live. And everybody should live the life how they want to live. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing with us, Tommy, and also the session. I'm still just sweaty. I'm just blown away, really. So yeah, thank you so much for that. And
Oh,
yeah,
it's
like I
genuinely my
said,
pleasure.
yeah, you're so, yeah, you have such a big heart and you want to help as much people as you can. Also, you gave us a discount. Plus, also, I see here you have a free gift as well, right? That you want to, or that you can share with us. If I'm
Yeah,
correct.
it's really a tip. So this is a tool that you can take with you. Anybody can do this. Um,
Okay.
and and so one of the things that I teach people is something called collapsing anchors. So every experience that you're ever going to experience is a fluctuation. It's going to come in waves. When I talk to people about pain, they'll tell me, on a scale of 1 to 10, their pain is at a 10 out of 10. It's that bad. It's terrible. And I'll express to them, I'll say, what's interesting about every experience is how it fluctuates. It's never consistently a 10 for long. It'll move up and down, and it'll go, dip down to, even if it's dipping down to a 9.7 out of the scale, right? It's not much of a dip, but it's still a dip. And what we can do is pay attention. When you notice a feeling that you don't want to feel anymore, when you want to be rid of a feeling, notice the first moment that it dips below where it currently was. You notice that moment and then hold your finger to your thumb like that. And just, or if you can't do that for whatever reason, then bookmark it. Put maybe your tongue on your teeth. We'll work our way back. I
Hmm.
don't know. Well, something to anchor it. So that's where you noticed it, right? And you close your eyes and you start to notice more fluctuation, and then just start imagining what it feels like to reduce that feeling by about half. We've all experienced what half of a feeling is. If it was a 10 out of 10, no one was born at 10 out of 10 or stayed there forever. Might have been a 5 out of 10 at some point, and your mind can remember that. And if you think about that, you can start to remember what a 5 out of 10 feels like. Like, just think about what a 5 out of 10 feels like. And as you feel that, reach down to that 5, really lock it in by moving down to the next finger. Let that be the new spot where you remain. And then we can go a half again, right? Let's go half again. 25%. 2.5 out of 10. Let's see we know what that feels like. Move it down. When you feel it, move it down. Hold it there. And then we can go 1 again. Half of 2.5. Let's see, that's 1.25. 1.25 out of 10. We can think about that. Move down and hold it there. And when you're finally ready to let it go, and just release it, you can just open your hand and let it go. You could do that with everything from pain. Now, it may not be as impactful as, like I said, working with someone who's like a coach who's actually going to walk you through the step-by-step, because you may be too close to it. What I do notice, though, is on TikTok, I show those tips sometimes, and I'll have people comment, "I can't believe this actually worked. Thank you so much." So do it. And do it more than one time. Do it for more than just one thing. If you're stressed, do that. If you're afraid, do that. If you're anxious, do that. And just guide yourself down. Notice the fluctuations. It doesn't have to be by half every time. It can be by 1%. You can do this over and over and over and over again, and start to feel that it's just getting down to a more manageable place. Because when you start to recognize the fact that it's always doing this, and then you put a ceiling on it, we lower that ceiling a little more. We lower it a little bit more, a little bit more. Now it's just little movements there, right? And so it's that same principle at work there. And our mind can create that reality for us. And so I wanted to leave you with that, and just see what that does for you. Really, really do that. Sit down with it, close your eyes, and let yourself experience it. That's important. Close your eyes and let yourself experience it. Because your eyes are taking in too much sensory data. And so if you close your eyes, you're removing that sensory data, your brain really reallocates the glucose and lets you focus differently. You start to notice feelings differently, and it lets you control those feelings easier. So just work your way down those fingers as you notice the feeling release.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing, Tommy, and thank you so much for being here. Yeah, it's just the experience. It's so overwhelming. It just the feeling and what I'm feeling now, just how I started this conversation with you and how I'm feeling now, it's so different. So I'm really looking forward to share with you the upcoming days how I feel then. But it's been a blast. In the beginning it was a bit like slow, but once we started get things rolling and got more about you and what you're doing, I got more interested because it's a topic that I don't know much about. But you can share it in a way that was really interesting and really engaging, and also plus with the session. I highly recommend, guys, that you, if you haven't, watch it back so you can see the hypnosis and see if it works for you or not. But I highly recommend to connect with Tommy and at least try it or buy his book so you can test it out, because I feel different. I never felt that way from a session. I've been with a psychologist for 2 years, and yeah, I felt better, but not how I feel right now. And yeah, I'm really curious what is going to happen in the upcoming days. So again, thank you so much, Tommy, for your generosity, for sharing your knowledge, and yeah, everything that you do and how you're helping people. I'm really grateful. And yeah, the world is also grateful for you as well. So thank you so much. So how can the listeners follow you and check out your work?
Yeah, there's I actually have two websites. I have different purposes for them, but you can go to likeahypnotist.com or you can go to hockeytownhypnotist.com. Both of those are me. I go by the Hockeytown Hypnotist. That's a great way to get a hold of me if you want to schedule a session. Otherwise, I would just use the link. I'm going to send over a link later on. Use that link. And there's also an you can schedule a call with me there too. But yeah, I would say use that link. That way you get your 10% off as well if you decide you do want to schedule with me. And that's probably the easiest way. I'm also on, I'm on like Instagram. I don't really update my Instagram or any of that kind of stuff. TikTok and all. It's like a hypnotist is my whole brand. Living like a hypnotist, right? Doing things like a hypnotist. So that's where that comes from. And but yeah, I mean, you can interact with me on Facebook. You can interact with me on YouTube. It's at like a hypnotist. So yeah. I'm all over the place, but I'll send you my my link so that people can get a hold of me, and we'll have a good time from there.
Absolutely. Yeah, I will put everything in the show notes so people can check your work out and reach out to you. So yeah, Tommy, it's been really, really powerful. So thank you so much. Is there anything you want to say before we're gonna go off?
I would just say, just understand that your mind is a far more powerful tool than you even realize it is. You can create reality out of fiction. And so be careful what you put into your mind. Be careful what you are willing to accept. And if you find yourself getting worked up, getting emotional, take a breath, because your emotions are controlling you. If I can get you angry, I can control how you react. I can control what you do. If I can get you worked up, I can control you. And that's how we get controlled, by outside sources. That's how people that you would respect could say horrible things online sometimes. We get worked up, we get emotional, and you don't want to be that person. It's better to keep your mouth shut and be thoughtful than to open it and remove all doubt, right? And so don't let your emotions manipulate you. Don't let other people get your emotions worked up, because then they get to manipulate you. So that's a big takeaway, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the thing that I wanted to add, and I can speak from experience, I had the same. Sometimes when I upload a video on YouTube and people were commenting negative, I get these triggers. Like, I had the feeling that I need to say something back or fight, but then I just let it be. It's like it's their gift to themselves. I don't have to take it. I don't have to do anything with it, and I just hold that power. I don't have to react or anything, and I feel a lot better. Yeah, it hurts because like yeah, I work a lot on this and stuff like that, but it's just words. It doesn't define who I am and what I'm doing. So it's also really important, like Tommy says, if people are being negative, ask yourself, is it you or them? And it's usually them. Maybe they're traumatized or they have anger or issues and they need somebody to unleash it or to get it out, and they feel you are the right person to do it. But it's not you or your fault. So it's really like you said, like how do you talk to yourself and how do you presume things to you? And it's a journey. I've been there. I've been living my life in negative mindset, in the victim mindset, and I had to shift that from years and years and feeling better, talking more positive, educate myself, learning books, talk with Tommy. It helped me so much, and that's what people are stop doing is working on themselves, educating themselves. They rather be distracting themselves to than to be educated. And education, reading books is so important. That's how we grow, that's how we learn, and that's how I became the person that I am today. My first book, I will share this, my first book was by Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. That book changed my life forever. That was the first book
Mhm.
that I read, and I hated reading. But that book really, I told myself once I finished that book, I said, I'm gonna never gonna stop reading books. I'm gonna read books as much as I can because I learned, and still it became a trap as well because I believe if I learn so much, then I'm gonna be unbeatable. Or with women or business, first I'm gonna read this book about business again, then I'm gonna take action. But I also learned you also have to take action as well. But what's important is the words and how you talk to yourself. And I always say the best relationship that you're gonna have is with yourself, and that's what people are forgetting. The relationship what you need to have with yourself. So put yourself at priority and take good care of yourself. And yeah, that's what I wanted to share. So Tommy, thank you so much. It's been 2.5 hours. It's been really powerful. Again, I'm still sweating, so it's I can really tell how powerful it is. And yeah, I'm gonna keep you up to date for what's up next, and then we're gonna schedule another episode once we can. So yeah, Tommy, thank you so much for everything that you do. And yeah, it's been amazing, so thank you so much.
Oh, genuinely my pleasure. I'm so glad I could be on, and thank you for having me on. This was a lot of fun.
For sure. Yeah, I'm really grateful that you reached out or I reached out to you and we started doing this. And yeah, I learned so much from you and how I can also send people to you as well if they are struggling. And I will do that. So thank you so much, Tommy.
Yeah, absolutely.